we're able to democratize access to those assets, making them more transparent, accessible, and available to a broader range of investors, right? So this process opens up unique investment opportunities that had previously been limited to select institutional players.
All right, welcome back inside our proactive newsroom. And joining me now is Warren Sargent. He is the CFO for Finequa International. And Warren, it's good to see you. How are you?
Very good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, excited to have you on the show. The company out recently with your financial numbers that saw your third quarter revenue grow substantially from your second quarter revenue. So I'll let you talk about the numbers themselves. Obviously, you're pretty happy with what you're seeing.
Yeah, exactly that. So yeah, a couple key factors to cover there. So we saw a demand for our advisory services on our expertise in DeFi and tokenization pickup. Strategic partnerships have been pivotal. And really, that's organizations increasingly seeking guidance on how to integrate blockchain technologies with traditional finance, right? And conversely, we see a lot of blockchain developers who are also keen to tap into what we call RWAs, real world assets. Specifically, coming back to what drove our advisory work was a large project with a London-based financing company, helping them to tokenize niche esoteric assets that are typically difficult for most investors to access, right? So by utilizing blockchain technology, we're able to democratize access to those assets, making them more transparent, accessible, and available to a broader range of investors, right? So this process opens up unique investment opportunities that had previously been limited to select institutional players, right? Which is great. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, we're also advising a prominent digital investment advisor on accessing traditional assets, right? So these two engagements have really validated our strategy of bridging traditional finance with the digital assets, and just kind of matching the markets on either side.
Yeah, and I guess for those type of companies that want to see they see the value in what you're doing, and more importantly, the value of what they would like to see, and that consulting fees and the consulting work that you do is so important to a company that really wants to take that next step, but really not sure how to get there.
Yeah, exactly. So we found that the traditional finance world doesn't know a lot about the digital asset world, and vice versa. They kind of have worked in their own environments for ages. So what we find is that there's a severe liquidity problem in the current digital asset world. Obviously, that's a bit offset by what's happening with the big Bitcoin ETFs, but a lot of that liquidity isn't finding its way into the sort of smaller blockchain ecosystems, right? And so
Yeah.
for those blockchain ecosystems, they've got this wonderful technology, they've got hardly any transaction costs, they've got a wonderful user base, but they don't have real assets in there except for their native tokens, right? And then conversely, we find with the traditional asset market is they've got wonderful assets, but arguably extremely archaic and expensive technology, right? So this is where we find ourselves really being the translator between the two worlds, right? These wonderful traditional assets that people are so familiar with, and just pairing that up with wonderful blockchain technology.
So you're going to try to grow that part of the company, Warren? Is that the idea?
Definitely, yeah. Maybe you'll be aware, but current stablecoin issuers on the digital asset space have tokenized them. They've started tokenizing T-bills, and stablecoins now count as the 16th highest stablecoin T-bill holder in the world, right? So we see
Wow.
that trend increasing, as well as also a whole bunch of other traditional assets coming into the sort of digital asset space and also being tokenized, right? So we expect more T-bills to be tokenized from 1% to who knows where. And then not just that asset class, but perhaps another 10 to 20 to 50 other assets coming along there. So we see a massive drive in that space, yeah.
Yeah, Warren, the company also announced that you had completed a private placement just over $2 million, 2.1 million, in fact, and that is well above what you were looking for. So obviously there was some great demand, which is a real positive for the company.
Yeah, exactly. So our target was 1.5 million CAD. We came in 40% over that at 2.1. So reflecting strong investor interest and confidence in our strategic direction. I guess we attracted investment because we are delivering value in a market that's still figuring itself out. The key drivers were really our our digital asset exchange traded note ambitions. So we have ambitions in Europe to launch exchange traded notes that are sort of outside of the sort of Bitcoin and Ethereum sphere. As we see the digital asset ecosystem growing, we also expect other assets that collateralized ETN to also growing. So we have prospectus approvals in Europe to include a broader range of assets that perhaps some of the larger issues are not focusing on. And because we work on the digital asset side, we anticipate there's going to be quite a high demand for those, right? And then also what piqued investors' interest was sort of our growing advisory services on being this translator, this bridge between the digital asset world and the traditional finance world.
Absolutely. Makes a lot of sense. Well, Warren, I know it's full steam ahead. Thanks so much for the update. Really appreciate it. And we'll talk soon. Okay.
Cool. Thank you very much, guys.
All right. There's Warren Sargent. He's the CFO for Finiqua International.